Good evening, everyone. Good evening to the ones who are with us in the internet. As Mauro, I don't know if you watched Mauro's lecture 2 weeks ago in English. He was talking about this a seminar that happened here on about a month ago, and through the Federation. It was in English, and we were talking about the theme that was spoken about in March in the Federation annual event, and it was about the word of regeneration, right? And he talked about the word of regeneration. Are we there yet? And I guess he proved that we are on our way. We are working hard to get there. And we talked about vices and lower passions, which is our lecture tonight. And vices and lower passions. Why change? Right? Let's see if it works. What are vices? What are passions? We're going to start with the vices just because it's easier. We're going to find a deeper study in the Spirit's book about it, but we're going to start with the easiest ones. When we think about a vice, we probably picture in our minds what? Drugs, alcohol, right? These are the natural types of vices and addictions that come to mind, right? The easiest one. But when we look at the dictionary of the meaning of these words about vices, it says that it's immoral or wicked behavior. It's moral flaw, a defect or a weakness, or a bad habit that we develop. So, as I said, the easiest way to picture it is all the normal material addictions that we have in our daily lives. Our cigarettes, our alcohol, games, gambling, right? But as we grow in our knowledge, in our self-knowledge, better said, we're going to start looking into other bad habits or moral flaws that we have, that sometimes are our reactions to life that happens in an everyday, maybe unnoticed, like an angry reaction for everything that happens to our lives, or a lack of patience with people around us, or this uncontrollable willing to talk about people, or comment, right, or observations about what other people do. So our tongue sometimes can be more hurtful than our anger, right? Sometimes our comments can be bullying without us even noticing that we are doing that. But in the deep down, when we study here in Spiritism, we're going to see that one of the biggest problems that is a cause of most of these vices is our selfishness, going back to ourselves, thinking that we are the most important ones, thinking that we are the best, we deserve more, our God is better, so that gives me the right to just trample over you, right? Well, in order for us to really see in numbers how strong vices are in our lives, I brought you some numbers here. So this was collected from SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Medical Health Service Administration. And they tell us that nearly 1 in 12 adults in the U.S. have substance have some sort of substance abuse. Of 41,000 deaths a year for suicide, one suicide every 40 seconds, 20% of those are substance or drug abuse related. 22% of these deaths by suicide are linked to alcohol abuse. Legally permitted. And in the base of our society, causing a huge problem. And alcoholism it's kind of hard because it's not just somebody that just binges and non-stop drinking, but it's just that person that cannot stop thinking about it, or is dependent on their one glass of wine or one glass of whiskey per night in order to distress, or the one that looks forward for Friday, Saturday, Sunday so they can drink, even though they don't during the weekdays, right? Then from the World Health Organization, numbers about suicide, and they say who's at risk of suicide. And one comment that called my attention is the link between suicide and mental disorders, in particular depression and alcohol use disorders, is well established in high-income countries. We live in a high-income country. Another statistics from the Uniform Crime Reporting Program of the United States, the offenses, violent offenses related to property, theft, drugs, and public order, 16 to 18% from 2000. These statistics are measured since 2002. About 18% related to drug. Either wanting money because they needed money to buy drugs, or drug trafficking related. So in numbers, in statistics, we can see that vices are problems, right? But where does vice start? Where's the origin? And we go back to the Spirit's book. We're going to see the spirits are intelligent beings of creation. If you are intelligent, what does it mean? We can think, we can relate, we can analyze, we can get to conclusions, right? We can see the numbers and see that there's something amiss here that I shouldn't be doing. But we were created all simple and ignorant. That's what they say. That's what the spirits say. In this process of learning, we are going to, through our experiences, create our knowledge, create our work on our growth and evolution. So we are created without knowledge and progressively leading, God is progressively leading us to perfection. So if I look in a picture, I would be created right in the center there, right? Knowing nothing, with very few choices. Like a baby. It cries when it's hungry. It cries when it needs to be changed. It cries for when it feels uncomfortable, but cannot move much, right? You leave it there, it stays there. I wish it could be like that forever, especially with my kids, but they grow. As they grow, the choices also grow, right? They can walk here, walk there, get hurt here, get hurt there. We start learning from our experiences that some things work, some don't, right? Very, very early in life. Some things are very hurtful. It burns if you touch the oven door while it's on. You cannot put anything in the plug on the wall because your mom is going to hurt you or your father is going to hurt you. But as we keep growing, as we keep experiencing, we learn that some things work, some don't. But sometimes we are creatures that learn by pleasure, right? We like something, we repeat. But since we don't know much, we cannot say that anymore, okay? We know a lot. But since we didn't know as much, sometimes we got confused with the pleasure. I experience a drug and I feel a momentaneous pleasure, and I think that's good, and I keep repeating it. That's what we call, sooner or later, addiction, right? It turns into a vice. What will bring us down to reality to figure out that that's not working anymore? It may take a long path, it may take a long journey of other experiences, other painful experiences to finally figure out that that's not a good thing. But in this right or wrong, do this or do that, we keep progressing, we keep learning, and at the end, these vices come from our selfishness and from our ignorance, right? From our lack of knowledge. But it's a learning process, and if all of us were created perfect, knowing all this from the start, what's the merit? What's the merit to enjoy, right? So as we make mistakes, it's very important to understand that we are in the process of learning, that there is no forever burning in hell, that we are all going to be fine, right? But inequality is necessary for us to develop, right? The duality is still necessary for us to understand. So I need to have some darkness to understand what light is. Not that if we think about it, not that darkness exists by itself, right? Because if the whole room is dark and a bit of light comes in, the room lights up. But on the other side where it's lit, the darkness will not come out, right? So it's a lack of. And we have a lot of lacks. We have a lot of lacks in our virtues, right? We have lack of generosity sometimes. If we are selfish, it's very hard for us to share what we think belongs to us. It's very hard to understand that some things, the more we give, the more we get. Like love, like understanding, like friendship, right? The more we share, the more we get back. And another thing that is very hard is to learn to use free will. To a certain point, our freedom is given to us as we grow. As we grow, not only knowledge, but morally, right? If we grow in knowledge, but our moral is low, sooner or later, we're going to be stopped, either by human law or divine justice, right? But if you're doing something that is good for all, for everybody else's growth, we will be giving more and more freedom to continue doing and getting better at it. So the more we understand how these laws apply, because we can't continue to believe that chaos generated order, right? We can't continue thinking that the whole universe was created just by chance. There's got to be a higher intelligence that is taking care of this. So the more we understand how this intelligence works, And the more we understand how this order comes to life, to our lives, the more we will be able to follow the right path, right? So when Jesus comes to us and says, I am the way, I am the truth, he didn't say, I am your savior, you won't have to do anything else. You're saved, right? He says, I am the way, and you have to follow the way. You have to do your work. You have to become a better person. You have to learn, right? In every single parable that he taught us, we had to give something of us. We have to give up our capes. Whoever watched Simon Pedro's lecture on Sunday, right? The blind man who was standing on the side of the road. He was called by Jesus. But the first thing that he does is he throws out his cape. Is it easy to take out our masks, our personas, who we are in front of other people, to show our essence, to show who we really are, taking off our capes, taking off the layers that protect us, the fear, taking out all the questions, the temptations, the weaknesses, and say, here I am. I finally figure out that I am blind, so I want to see. Because if he asks me, what do you want? I wouldn't even know that I am blind, right? But we need, as we said, 2 wings to get to the divine. We need the wing of wisdom, and we need the wing of love. There is no flying with one or without the other. But in reality, once we understand the truth of these things that happens, when we get out of the illusion, right? The illusion that we are better, that we need something, alcohol, drug, talking about people, that we need something outside of ourselves to become who we are, the divine essence that we are. Once that truth comes out, what happens? We will know the truth, and the truth will set us free. All right? So freedom will be. If that's not enough reason for us to change, what else do we need? So let's go to passions. Passions is on the dictionary an exaggeration of a need or a feeling. It can lead to great things, right? So find your passion in life. But what is the problem of passion then? We looked, and when we looked at the title, we talk about lower passions. So the Spirit's book, we're going to see that the problem is the abuse, right? When we get fanatic with our passions, when we think that because of our passion we can just kill the world. When we were taught by the example that when we really believe in a cause, we give our lives. We don't take others. Right? Now, passions become levers that increase our power. So if I have a passion that I really believe in a cause, this cause will make me so much stronger to go after my beliefs or to fight for my beliefs to the point that I can die for it. Right? Now, one thing that the doctors say, when these images of the brain start developing, there is a difference that some of them call emotions and sentiments. So emotions are more linked to our lower passions. Our instinct for survival, getting fed, getting our pleasures more linked to our animal side, to our instinctive side, and sentiment is linked to a higher feeling, superior feelings of love, gratitude. And when we look at the brain, when the person is feeling anger, when the person is feeling this rage or something that is more linked to vices, it's our lower brain that lights up. And when we think about loving, gratitude, sharing, it's our front lobe that lights up. And when we study here, we're going to see that our front lobe is linked to our future, our superior mind, our newer mind. It's what will take us to regenerate, right? It's what's gonna conquer our instincts, our fears, our lower passions. So what we have to do is this exercise of loving, right? I guess it's the easiest path, unless we keep going on, fighting our own, fighting the directions and getting over our own pain, right? So one thing that Aristotle say is that virtue is in the middle. And I like to imagine our lives as a pendulum. When we go from ignorance, we don't know anything, then we keep learning, and then we go to the other side, which comes the abuse of it, right? The abuse of this. We talked earlier today with the nuclear energy, when we had nothing about it, and we went all the way to the nuclear bomb, and nowadays we are using it for treating cancer, for our lives, our power, right? So the use of the same thing, the same energy, bringing completely different consequences. But we can also look as Goldilocks and the three bears, where one of them was small, medium, and Papa was the big one. So one was too little, one was too much, and the middle was just right for her. If we think about virtues on this way, we can see that everything can be too little, too much, and just right. And just as an example, just an exercise, Alberto Almeida, in March, he did this presentation, and he did about all the laws that are in the Spirit's book, part 3. We have 10 laws. So he does an exercise about all these laws, and he makes a boat that flies from one side to the other of the river, too much, too little, and navigating in the middle. But just for us to see as an example, let's think about courage. If I have too little, I don't leave the house. I stay there because I'm afraid of everything. And if I have too much, I jump from the 20th floor without thinking about it because I have no fear. I become foolhardy, right? If we think about respect, if I have too little, I disregard everybody. I don't care about what you think, what you feel, and I just do whatever I want, right? And if I do it too much, it becomes idolatry. Discernment. If I have too little, I'm full, become foolish. If I have too much, judgmental. Love. If I don't have any love, I become selfish. Right? If I go to the other end of the scale, I can become an enabler. So I said at that time that as a parent, I can understand very well how easily we can become enablers. We don't want our kids to suffer. We don't want them to get hurt. We want them to stay home forever. And we don't want them to get hurt by life. Right? And we can give too much. We don't allow them to go out and work for themselves. So why change? We can all overcome bad tendencies, right? And the worst part is that the spirits say, most of the time with very little effort. Sad. What we all lack is willpower. Question 909. So, how do we improve ourselves? Was Kardec's next question. And the answer was, know thyself, know who you are. Take out the cape, take out the layers, go inside, go to the essence. Right? Is this easy? Of course not. It is complex. It is an everyday work. Don't leave it for the 31st to go do your checklist of who you are. It's too many days to go over too many things you forgot. It's like, especially when you get to my age. So it's got to be something that we do little by little every day, right? Otherwise, but one thing that these changes, when we think about changes, sometimes it's very stressing. But change is the only thing that has been a constant, right? We are constantly changing. And just in order to keep balance, we have to change. And the example that I use is our own bodies. Our own bodies they are miraculous too. If we think about how you walk, you move, you self-regulate your temperature, your blood pressure, we are average 60 trillion cells in our bodies. 60 trillion times, I don't know how many trillions of chemical chain reactions that are happening all the time. Trillions of sensors just to regulate our temperature, our blood pressure. Do you know you're seated? You know you're seated. How? You have sensors in your whole body. Right? You have sensors that regulate your food. You don't have to know anything about biochemistry, and your stomach is digesting your food. It's taking out the good, it's taking out the bad, then used. And we've been doing it for millennia now, right? But it's a perfect example of constant change, small little change all the time, checking up in order for us to stay healthy. If you have a fever, your blood cells are going to start fighting the bacteria. But if you are depressed, if you are stressed, your immune system goes down. So the same bacteria is affecting everybody here in this room. Some will get sick, some won't. What's the difference? The bacteria? No. Us. Each immune system is reacting in a different way. Why? If it's the same, if we're going to look at the microscope, aren't they all the same? The same chemical elements. Who is reacting then, if not the spirit? Who is keeping us strong? The body or the mind? So as we evolve through learning, through loving more, as I said, the way to get out of the rat race, we've got to love more. But at the same time, as this happens, as we know more, as we love more, what will happen? More is going to be asked from us, right? Until it becomes a party, until we become happy in living our lives, so until we leave the struggles behind and decide to take over, right? There's no regeneration with people lingering around with guilt. There won't be any regeneration if we don't work on what we have to work. So if we follow the path, we've got to follow the examples, right? We've got to follow the guide. So we're going to be asked for better choices. We're going to be asked for more virtue, for more of the new man, right? When Paul tells us it's a constant fight between the old man and the new man. What I don't want to do, I do. The good that I want to do, sometimes it just gets forgot. But the old habit, going back to the old path, that's easy, of course. We have millions and millions of years in the evolution training us to be instinctive, to be worried about survival, to not understand the spiritual side, right? But there's no way for us to get spiritual if we don't give up matter. So, of course, more change will be asked for us, for better, hopefully. And then once we do our part, right, we can understand what Paul says, that God will render to every man according to his deeds, what we do. We will not be collecting the fruits that other people planted, unfortunately. So when I say that Jesus didn't come here and said, I am the Savior, I'm going to save you from doing what you have to do. No. He just said, if you do this, it's going to be easier. Right? My yoke is light. So this was what we shared on that seminar. There were other 4 people that talked about different subjects, all on this way to our regeneration, to our evolution. It's a non-stop process. It's not going to be, this day we are proof and expiation, the next day we woke up regenerated. We are all getting better as time goes by, right? So thank you so much for listening, and that was the message.